I am absolutely geared up. That was my house shoes. I'm sorry you had to see that. What I want to do today is I want to finally, because I haven't done it yet, I want to compare the Nikkor Z 24mm f1.8s to the Nikkor Z 20mm f1.8s. Now this is one of my favorite lenses in the entire Z lineup, and this 24mm, I really just bought it to do video because I needed another wide lens, and why have two 20mm? Now I can already tell right off the bat that the 24mm f1.8s is better in pretty much every single way, except for video. I do think that this is better for video, but I want to take some pictures to see how much better the 20mm is. Now granted, if you're looking for that focal length, then money is really no object. If you want a 20, you want a 20. If you want a 24, you want a 24. But the Nikkor Z 20mm f1.8s is more expensive. Now, optically, I do think it's better again. But if you don't care as much about the focal length, maybe there is a case to actually see how much better the 20mm is optically to the 24mm. So that's exactly what I'm doing today. What we're gonna see in this video today is just test shots, right? I'm not doing an actual shoot today, but if you would like me to do a scenic portrait shoot with both of these lenses side by side, check this out. Did you know that you can get some awesome perks by becoming a member of the Z-Wade Photo YouTube channel? Awesome perks like content recommendations, early access to all videos, unique member-only videos, and uncut or uncensored videos. Not everything on YouTube is able to be monetized, and if it can't be monetized, YouTube don't like it. But as a member, you'll get access to everything that YouTube deems unworthy of its algorithm. So fight the man by becoming a member of the Z-Wade Photo YouTube channel today. All right, let's go then. All right, so I think the first thing I'm going to do is the black and white ability test on a subject that you guys have seen many times before. All right, now, I think I'll just shoot one straight across the yard. See if we can do something up close. Let's do like a sharpness test, I think. Let's do these. This is bark, I think. f5.6 is 1/60th of a second. Let's match that. So, looking through the viewfinder, I feel like the greens look better just through the viewfinder on the 20mm f1.8s, and I double checked and made sure both the Z9 and the Z8 are both set in standard profile, because the Z9 wasn't vivid, which kind of adds some color. I see some flowers, and so we can maybe get some colors here of these little tiny flowers. I think the 20mm actually focuses closer. It may not look like that in the final image, just because of the perspective of 20 versus 24. But distance-wise, you know, like 0.66 feet. The other ones, I don't know, we don't do metric around here. Here's the Nikkor Z 20mm f1.8s. Here's the Nikkor Z 24mm f1.8s. Okay, so in this video, the 20mm will always be on the left, and the 24mm will always be on the right. The 24 was always shot on the Z9, and the 20 millimeter was always shot on the Z8. I also shot every single image at the same shutter speed, aperture, and ISO, and in the same continuous single point autofocus. Right off the bat, I can see that we have more saturation in the 20 millimeter f1.8s than we do in the 24 millimeter. And I can also see more vignetting present in the 20 millimeter than I do in the 24 millimeter. Now, I did take this image specifically because this is a surprisingly good spot to test the black and white ability of a lens, but we're going to see the things that we have to see first. I'm going to look for fringing. First of all, this is where I focused at. And the 20 millimeter right here does seem to have a bit more sharpness. We're in at like 300%, and so it's not fair to judge sharpness zoomed that far in, but the 20 millimeter does seem to be overall just more put together. They both have excellent detail though. I see a little bit of kind of fringing here. And then here, let's look at this bolt. Okay, so the 24 millimeter does have more fringing than the 20 millimeter. Aren't I popular? What I was saying is the 24 does have some fringing in the out of focus areas. And we're going to look at this really bright area here. So this is a really extreme area right here. And so the 20 millimeter actually does not have like any fringing here. And we see some on the 24, pretty much all along here. Anywhere where there's an extreme highlight, we're seeing fringing, and we're just not getting a whole lot of that over here. Tiny bit right here. Looks a little green right here. Overall, I think the 20 millimeter does control fringing better. All right, now we're going to do the black and white ability test, and I'm just going to edit this one, and we're going to do the exact same settings here. And honestly, they both look fantastic. If anything, we have a little bit more richness in black and white on the 20 millimeter, just like the dark areas are a tad darker. And it's just a little more put together as far as like the detail goes. The details are more complete. And this one, they kind of tend to kind of crumble together, but only a tiny bit. But as far as the richness of the black and white, you may not even see a difference. It's very, very subtle. The 20 is just ever so slightly. Yeah, it's ever so slightly more kind of contrasty. Okay, yeah, this one is quite obvious. Nothing has been done to this. This is just a kind of a color check. And obviously there's more saturation on the 20 millimeter than there is the 24 millimeter. And I actually prefer the blue on the 24 because this is that Nikon Super JPEGy blue, which people that like really saturated blues, they will love the 20 millimeter because of just how saturated the blues are. But I do prefer the blues over here because this is about what my skies would look like after I edit this this super blue down a little bit. But I do like the green of the 20 millimeter better than I like on the 24. The 24 is a little more subtle, perhaps a little more natural. And they both look about the same at distance. And I am still not seeing the weirdness kind of in the distance that Jared Polin, Frono's photo, peeped out in some of his. There was more distance. He showed that it was doing something weird in the distance. And I haven't seen that yet, but I have been casually taking pictures trying to see if this lens will do it. It makes me wonder if maybe there was just something, some kind of conformity issue with his, where it's unique to his copy. But I haven't seen that yet, thankfully. On this image, I've focused on this little white spot here on both of them. And this is kind of where things get interesting. As I was reviewing the images, kind of developing some ideas before I hit record today. To me, to my eye, The 20 millimeter is ever bit more, slightly more sharp. However, this image caught me off guard because looking at these side by side, I feel like the 24 has a bit of character that I did not know it had. The contrast on both of them is fantastic, but in this particular instance, I feel like the 24 has a bit more of a look than the 20 millimeter. I'm just gonna make some slight adjustments and then put them side by side, but the adjustments will be the exact same. And here's kind of what I'm talking about. So I just hit previous on this, and look at the way that the 24 responded to the adjustments I made and the way that the 20 millimeter responded. There's just a little bit of a difference on this. This just has a bit of a punch that is kind of missing in the 20 millimeter in this instance. Now, this would require weeks of testing to really determine whether it's a lens thing or whether it's just a scene in the distance that I'm working at with the 24 versus the 20. But what's really surprising is I thought for sure that the 20 millimeter would have endlessly more character than the 24 millimeter, and that isn't necessarily the case, at least all the time. And so this has just a bit of a kind of a character to it that I can't quite put my finger on. And yeah, I just thought something like that would be reserved for something that's more expensive. Point being, it looks great. And now looking at this one, we can see the benefit of the color saturation of the 20 millimeter over the 24 millimeter. As far as sharpness goes, I mean, it's so subtle in this kind of shot, but I mean, big differences in the colors. So you have to make that choice there, whether that's important to you or not. Again, the contrast on the 24 is a lot better than I think I gave it credit for. In my head, I thought that the 20 millimeter would be way more contrasty, and it's just not way more contrasty. So while the sharpness differences are more subtle, the overall image, like just how the 20 millimeter puts together finer details. See, like over here, this is, let me zoom this out to the, this will be very, very hard to see on YouTube, but this area in particular here, it is much better put together than it is on the 24. And by put together, I mean the details kind of just run together more on the 24 than they do on the 20, it seems. Now, granted, things like that you wouldn't notice unless you were zoomed in like 300% like we are. But at least from a distance, I mean, they're just so similar. And these images are really nothing alike. They're different distances, but I was out there whenever my parents' dogs were running in the backyard, and just a slightly warmer tone that I probably can't even give credit to the lens. On that note, just because her Stella here is kind of out in the yard here, and right here we're closer to more objects that could be kind of casting a bit of a warmer tone on her. But I mean, as far as sharpness goes, from reasonable viewing distances, there's not a ton of difference. So kind of interesting. So before I started this experiment, in my head for sure, the 20 millimeter was better in every way than the 24 millimeter, right? Just based on having shot the 20 millimeter a lot and then shooting the 24 millimeter a few times, I thought it was more obvious in my head. And it's varying degrees in my head of significance. So I didn't think that the 20 would be endlessly sharper. I just thought it was a little sharper. But I knew that it had much more saturated color than the 24. But shooting them side by side, put simply enough, by the focal length that works best for you. But it is a lot more nuanced than I thought it would be. And that's actually a good thing because that's what makes lens shopping fun. My gripe about Z lenses versus f-mount lenses is there used to be a lot more nuance to buying a lens, right? Getting the right tool for the job. There was different things to look into. And most mirrorless lenses now have more of a cookie cutter kind of result, right? And you get it looking the way that you want in post for the most part, with the exception of a few lenses that have that secret sauce. I was not expecting the 24 to have any secret sauce at all. But as we saw in the video, there's circumstances where it does have a bit of a little something special that I thought was really reserved for the 20mm f1.8s. So I actually like that. This is what the reason I used to do lens videos and I don't enjoy them as much now is because the comparisons are just getting slimmer and slimmer. But the discovery back in the f-mount days was what was really, really fun when it came to lenses. Fantastic, a lot of fun. I love having my mind changed by actually getting into the images and pixel peeping it. You guys know that I'm a pixel peeper, and this is why. It's fun whenever I decide that, I may need to change my mind a little bit because I just saw something that I didn't know was going to be there.